from Arizona's most watched
of New Concord, Ohio.
He's become probably one of my greatest idols coming up and growing up now.
I was really scared, actually, because this is the biggest publicized launch since the Challenger was, and that's all I could see.
Students at Muskingum College talked a lot about the launch today as they worked on a physics experiment involving a model of the shuttle. This Saturday, they'll get a chance to talk with Glenn during a satellite hookup from space. Of course, John Glenn has been getting all the publicity, but there are also 6 other astronauts on board the Shuttle Discovery. All of them but one have been up in the shuttle before. They've been training together for 8 months. Now, there's Commander Kurt Brown. This is his 5th shuttle trip. Steve Lindsay will pilot the ship. Dr. Scott Parazynski is the man who will be drawing blood and examining Glenn. Stephen Robinson is in charge of all of the experiments. Dr. Chiaki Mukai from Japan is a heart surgeon. She'll experiment with fish and plants. Pedro Duque from Spain is the space rookie. He will experiment with fluids and metals. And did you know Arizona has played a...
Planning on going to a NASA launch, but she'll wait until March.
Roger, the clock is operating. We're underway.
When Glenn blasted off in 1962, he traveled in the one-man Mercury.
It's going to be built next to Sunrise Mountain High School in Peoria. Among those taking part in this groundbreaking is the mother of Krista McCullough. You remember she is the teacher who died in the
for some 7-year-old students. In other news, state regulators want to find out if U.S.
The Mercury had no
This is what that center will look like when complete. Coming up on News 15 at 6 tonight, we will take you inside where children are at the controls of Mission Control. So to recap our top story, John Glenn is back in space. He was the first American to orbit the Earth 36 years ago. On this mission, he'll help NASA learn how space affects the aging process.
The abuse. New information on that shooting we first told you about last night at 10 o'clock. A Mesa woman has died after allegedly pointing a gun at a DPS.
Nervous and emotional.
Of course, I was waiting for that 73 seconds, right, because that's when, and then they got over that.
When the critical moments passed, Grace Corrigan breathed a sigh of relief.
Okay.
Mrs. Corrigan came to Arizona for the groundbreaking of the Challenger Learning Center in Peoria.
It'll show, like, kids like me, like, what happens when astronauts go into space.
Just learning about what they do up in space and just seeing how they work in there.
Family members of the Challenger crew are behind the effort to build learning centers like this one. There are already 31 in North America. Major Rich Scobie's father, Dick, was the Challenger commander.
Everybody saw the way he died, but nobody saw the way he lived. And what the Challenger Center is more of a way of how he lived his life.
The center will also feature the work of artist Robert McCall. Grace Corrigan knows this is what...
And today he was released. He'll spend a few weeks recovering at the home of a church leader in Germany, and then Borden hopes to go back to Russia. The New Jersey mom who killed her newborn baby at the...
In the world, be able to teach lessons on space.
The Challenger Learning Center will be built in Peoria, right behind Sunrise Mountain High School. And Robin, it will open this fall. Or next fall, I should say.
Next fall.
Yes.
All right, Julie, thanks very much.
Well, John Glenn, the oldest man in space. But what about the man who held that record that Glenn just broke? It was almost 2 years ago. The shuttle carried Story Musgrave into space. At age 61, he at the time was the oldest man in space, but he doesn't seem to mind losing his record to an American legend.
It runs deeper than stunt. It's deeper than public relations. It's deeper than science. It is that deja vu between 4.5 hours 36 years ago and now. It's that, you know, I'm back in zero G. Can I snap back that far? It's Senator John Glenn. It's Mercury hero John Glenn. It's all those kind of things. That's why everyone's so interested.
Musgrave traveled into space 6 times on board the shuttle.
Of course, there are 6 other astronauts aboard the mission, not just John Glenn, and a couple of those astronauts are also making history. Pedro Duque is making his first trip to space, and he's also the first Spaniard to do it. At 35, he is the youngest crew member. He wasn't even born when John Glenn made his first mission. And Dr. Chiaki Mukai will be the first Japanese woman to fly into space twice. She first went on the Columbia back in 1994. John Glenn's space mission is making cash registers ring in stores across the valley. Because of his mission, there is more interest in space and astronauts than ever before. That has store owners seeing green. Diane Ryan's been on this story today, and she joins us now. Diane?
They are very happy. As John Glenn blasts off into space, any merchandise with his name on it is just flying off store shelves. There is a renewed interest in space, and a lot of store owners are cashing in on that.
The flight of the capsule Glenn names Friendship 7 is a go.
This is the Discovery Channel's documentary of John Glenn's first trip into space 36 years ago. Now you can buy your own copy. It's for sale at the Discovery Store in Phoenix, along with T-shirts, toys, and posters. You can even buy his book, but you'll have to wait.
It's been a great response. Right now, they're just reserving a copy because actually the last chapter is going to be written when he comes back.
G.I. Joe has some stiff competition in the toy store. The John Glenn action figure rockets onto store shelves soon.
I would love to have it. I have a son-in-law who is a Hot Wheels freak, and we are very much following the John Glenn saga, so I'd love to have one.
John Glenn's historic trip is sparking renewed interest in space. It shows in the increased sales of everything from toys to telescopes. If it has John Glenn's name on it or it's about space, it sells.
It's been a lot of fun. It's really been an interesting topic to talk to all the customers about and everything. They're always wanting to know more.
Now, the John Glenn action figure should be in store shelves this week or next week. And Robin, at 77, that's pretty neat to have your own action figure.
That is awesome. You and I should be so lucky at 77, Diane. Thank you very much.
No question. A lot has changed in the world around us between John Glenn's first trip into space and today. Think of what John Glenn left behind when he catapulted into space 36 years ago. A 1962 world of tail-fin cars, rotary phones, and black and white television sets. The 1998 world we live in has lead-free gas, cellular phones, and dozens of cable channels. It's been years since we mourned the breakup of the Beatles. But in 1962, Ringo Starr hadn't even joined the group yet. But there are similarities. The 1962 launch came just months after Roger Maris hit the magical 61 home runs. And of course, the Discovery mission comes just months after Mark McGuire shattered Maris's record. Here's a reality check. Mark McGuire wasn't even born yet when Glenn first went into space.
You're watching Fox 10 News with John Hook, Robin Garrison, Dave Muncie's weather, and Jude LaCava sports.
For your kids to scarf down this Halloween weekend.
Hi, everybody. Dave Muncie in the Weather Center. We're going to see some weather changes before Halloween. We'll have that for you coming up.
What Suns coach Danny Ainge doing these days with the NBA lockout? We'll track him down coming up in sports.
A victory for Tom Cruise in Famous on Fox.
And the father of the abused Avondale quadruplets appears in court. Keep it right here.
Who is the masked magician? Why did he reveal magic's biggest trick?
9.70. Get you caught up real quick with things happening across.
Not all Washington spending is this.
$100,000 with that pumpkin. Well, Jeff didn't quite hit the secret square.
Still 15 to 25 inches.
Right after breaking the magician's code on Fox 10 News at 9.
Could this little device help you relax better, work better, sleep better, think better?
A mind control machine. They say it works, but would you give control of your mind to a machine? You decide. Watch only on Fox tonight on Fox 10 News at 9. You're watching Fox 10 News.
A break, so you go to a repair shop. Tonight, in an undercover investigation, 3 on Your Side tries to find out if some computer companies are mousing around when it comes to repairs. And Mother Nature opens the floodgates in Germany, turning roads into rivers. Good evening! Good evening, Arizona.
Good evening again, Arizona. Police say law firms gets an expensive slap on the wrist because of some questionable ads.
No money down and affordable payments. Focus on my employment.
You might recognize
Another community in the East Valley may soon put tobacco out of reach, and that story tops up.
One, that's the only mark on his record, we're told, is a letter of instruction. That's the lowest reprimand that the department gives out.
Now, the firm agreed to pay $200,000 to groups to provide legal services to the poor. But in a fact statement to 12 News...
Like the fragments sitting in the sky in a pattern of jellyfish.
Poetry was one of Daniela's Rocky's passions. It foretold his future.
But now
April with broken bones and fractures. The babies are now in state custody. No word yet from the jury deliberating the fate of...
Is your firm limited to personal injury or is it general practice?
Just personal injury. That's all we do. And if I may...
Ryan, he didn't care even to say sorry.
And it's tragic, you know, when...
That tragedy spurred a living legacy in the form of Challenger Learning Centers. CBS 5's Mike Levitt reports the countdown to today's launch coincides with one right here in Arizona.
Let me tell you what my problem is.
Jim Messerly sees more and more sleepy drivers on Arizona highways every year.
In the world stacked on top of a truck.
On long...
But Grace Corrigan knows the dark side of space flight. Her daughter, teacher Krista McAuliffe, walked to the
drivers.
It's the biggest killer I've seen. Unfortunately, just as in drinking, as people drink too much and they lose their judgment, the same thing happens with fatigue.
In fact, studies show staying away...
It was a beautiful lunch, wasn't it? And I think everybody felt it.
From the tragedy came a need by the families to...
If I keep active, I stay awake.
Jeff McTaggart is going on 30 hours without sleep, and fatigue is starting to set in.
We want to show you just how dangerous sleepy drivers can be.
Like this one in San Diego, Arizona's version will feature hands-on experiences for students of science. Families of the Challenger astronauts see centers like this as a tribute to their memory and a motivation to students of science.
To watch the kids work in teams to try to solve problems in the Challenger Learning Centers, that is, it gives me some hope for the future.
She wasn't able to carry on teaching her lessons, and this is one way of doing it, continuing the mission.
Their mission, reach for the stars. Their inspiration, those who already did. Mike Levitt, CBS 5 News.
The Challenger Learning Center will open in Peoria in about a year. Children and adults can visit from anywhere.
Looks like a lot of fun. Well, what would you think about a 200,000 square foot store moving into your neighborhood? That's just what they're considering on this land. Now neighbors gather to fight that plan.
I'm Laura Garcia. I brought you Doctors Redding Doctors, and because you wanted more, tonight, a special...
Rafael Alazraqui wants this simple test of endurance to serve as a warning to anyone who gets sleepy while driving.
To save one life in the future is worth any effort, you know, and give the message to the people that...
Be feeling, a little bit of wet weather headed our way once again. I'll have your full details coming up with your Neighborhood Weather 5cast. Don't go away. We'll be back.
Unlike drunk driving, there's no law against driving sleepy. It's devastating for a father who's left with only memories of his son and passages of poetry written before he died.
Stomach rolling backwards, and it's not
closed captioning.
A dashboard compass, which told my brain I cannot fly.
Rafael Alazraqui is now on a crusade to make driving sleepy a crime. There are some things you can do during the
Our priority.
night. Reduce your stress and reduce caffeine and get lots of exercise. Try to keep your mind stimulated. Sleep experts say if you keep busy while you're awake, you will sleep more soundly at night.
It is getting harder to buy a handgun in Arizona. We'll tell you about...
For the land of
Like they're going to have, they're really going to have to convince the neighbors around there. What would you say if a company wanted to put in a 200,000 square foot store in your neighborhood?
I know what you mean. You have all the shopping nearby, but also everything that comes with it. Walmart wants to build this store at the southwest corner of Lindsay and McKellips Road in Mesa. But CBS 5's Bud Ginhart.
Increased security.
People who are concerned about the proposed Walmart, the giant Walmart that would be built about a half a mile from here, is going to begin right here at the Bethlehem Lutheran Church. We're on 32nd Street in Mesa, just south of McDowell, and that meeting begins in about an hour. Now, the proposed superstore, which will be built on 22 acres, this 22 acres, on the southwest corner of McKellips and Lindsay, the 200,000...
Piece living room with sofa, love seat, cocktail table, 2 end tables and 2 lamps, only $8.97.
Neighbors here are concerned that will attract a lot of heavy traffic in the area around the clock. Traffic they fear would pose a threat to the students at Mountain View High School, a half a mile to the south, and decrease the property values of their homes.
Walmart conservatively estimates a 19% increase.
Getting a gun is becoming harder in Arizona. A new program kicks in at the end of the month. It's called the National Instant Check System. Now, when people try to buy a gun, they fill out a form. Then the salesperson makes a call and does an instant check through a computerized system. If there is any question about the person's record, that sale is put on hold for up to 3 days. 27 states are participating in the program, and Arizona is included. This program does not affect gun sales through the classified ads.
Elections just 5 days away, and we have a lot of decisions to make. The propositions can be confusing. So last night, Rick...
Office, the ballpark installed 2 charging stations, and they open today. They're going to remain open 7 days a week, 7 in the morning to 6 at night, and during all events. There are already an estimated 500 electric cars right now.
Independents can vote in the primary, vote no. Well, they can't. Propositions 104 and 105 deal with sort of a similar subject. Whether
Giving me shivers. All right.
I can tell.
Steve Sealing has your neighborhood weather coming up, plus the latest from Mexico.
Are they different? Well, 104 was written by these guys, the lawmakers. 105 is an initiative put on the ballot by petitions. Vote yes on either one, and it will be tougher to change the laws that you vote into place. You have to decide which one you like best. Proposition 200 is about campaign finance limits. Vote yes, there will be a new 5-member commission to keep track of candidates who agree to tighter rules about contributions. It would also restrict the money that can go to candidates who don't agree to those restrictions. Vote no? Well, things stay the same. Finally, there is Proposition 202. It would allow any Arizona candidate for a national office the chance to sign a pledge that they would abolish the IRS. Vote yes, they get to sign that pledge. Vote no, well, there's no official pledge. That's pretty much what it boils down to. Rick DeBrule, 12 News.
And tomorrow night at 6, Rick will help you break down the rest of the proposition.
One haunted house got a little too creepy for some Valley women, and tonight that haunted house is shut down. It is called The Dark Side, and it's touch them as they walk through the attraction.
A lot of the calls we get from viewers are complaints about fraud. That's why 12 investigators
MC's biggest
phone bank last night. Staff from several state and federal agencies took more than 160 calls. They're now investigating those complaints. We just wanted to say thanks to everyone who called in. Well, Scene is up next to tell us if the weather could send chills down our spine this Halloween week.
And we'll take a look back. How times have changed since John Glenn's first mission. We'll show you what the country has done since 1962.